approximately 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight with our board meeting. Today is April the 7th, 2020. Our thought for today is, it is only in our darkest hour that we may discover the true strength of a brilliant light within ourselves that can never, ever be dimmed. That's by Doe Zantamata. I want to go ahead and officially call this meeting to order tonight. I'm going to ask Commissioner Edwards, if he would, please lead us in our invocation tonight. Commissioner Edwards, I want to ask if you would to pray for Commissioner Schultz and her family and her husband, Richard, as he lost his mother. So if you would include them in your prayer tonight.
Will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for another opportunity to get together and do the business of the county. We ask your special blessing upon each one here and each member of our county, Lord. We ask that you watch over us during our time of crisis. At this time, we'll pray a special blessing for Commissioner Schultz, mother-in-law, her husband, Dick's mother, and we ask that you comfort that family and lay your healing hand upon that family at this particular time, Lord. We ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Guys, I want to thank you for taking time out to meet tonight. As we know, we are dealing now in some difficult times. There's a lot of things going on in our community, and I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for your attendance tonight. Tonight on the agenda, we got one item we need to add. I want to make it item 9A. Item 9A. This is JSCM Group Security Service. It's a contract for $6,339.30. Want to make that 9A. I seek a motion that we approve the agenda with that addition, please.
So moved.
Second.
District 1 Commissioner.
Second, District 3 Commissioner.
It's been motion that we approve this agenda by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Schultz. All in favor? Say aye, please.
District 1 is an
District 5 is yes. District 4 is yes.
District 3 is yes.
District 2 is yes.
Thank you, sir. It's been approved 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This opportunity that we allow citizens to make comments. We'll allow them 3 minutes to do that about agenda topics only, agenda items only. You got 3 minutes to do so. If any citizens want to unmute their phone and make comments about an agenda topic only, you may do it at this time. Thank you. Thank you. Next is item number 5, the chairman's report. I got a couple of things that I want to announce. First, we want to make sure that we keep Commissioner Schultz and her family and her husband, Richard, in prayer at the passing of his mother. You know, I know how a mother relationship is with a son, and so we're definitely going to keep him in our prayers. I know it's a difficult time for him and his family. Also, Action Ministries. We're going to partner up with Action Ministries with a donation of $10,000 to make sure that we do our part in helping kids that may not get lunches during this summer break, this make sure they get some food on their table, make sure that we play our part as a county government and stepping up to the plate to make sure that those kids get an opportunity to get fed. So I want to thank the commissioners for that as well. Also, we are going to not cancel Family Fun Day, but we're going to set another date out for Family Fun Day. That date will be given soon to you guys. We want to make sure that we still take the opportunity to engage our citizens on Family Fun Day. Also, COVID-19 update. There are 62 cases here in Newton County as at 5 o'clock today. 62 cases and 2 deaths in our community. So guys, we want to make sure we keep doing what we're doing. Keep washing our hands and keep trying to stay 6 feet away. If you got to go out, make sure you follow the governor's orders, stay 6 feet away. We're praying that you don't have to go out. We're praying that everybody can stay home. But we want to make sure we do our part in doing that. Thursday is a day of prayer. We're calling for a community prayer on Thursday the 9th. We're going to start praying at 6 o'clock a.m. Throughout that day, we're going to be praying, that the Lord will cover us, cover this community, not only this community, but our nation as well. So you guys, please keep that in mind on your day Thursday. Thursday also, I'll be hosting a town hall with our local pastors to get them information to them to make sure that they have all the information they need to take back to their congregations. We'll be doing that with Dr. Arona from the health department. We'll be doing that at 6 o'clock on Thursday evening. So those are the things that we have going on, and I want to make sure that you guys are aware of it. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, is that town hall open for anyone to participate or just for the ministers?
We're doing it for the pastors. It's a pastors roundtable. They asked for it, so we want to make sure that we get them an opportunity to hear from Dr. Arona. So we're probably going to do something in the near future with her for all the citizens of the county. But the pastors asked for it, so we want to make sure we get it to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chairman, you said the community day of prayer that you were looking for, that was also going to be at 6 p.m. on Thursday?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
The community day of prayer, what time were you calling for that again on Thursday?
That'll be on Thursday, starting at 6 a.m. We're going to be praying throughout the day. Wherever you at, take an opportunity to pray. And we're asking the Lord to cover our community, not only our community, but our nation as well.
Thanks, sir.
Next is County Manager Report, Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to say that that our staff is doing a really good job of being able to keep up with the demand on their work. We have a number of people who are working from home, and our department heads have been able to manage them. And I'm proud to say that that we are maintaining our levels of productivity by doing so. Those in public works individuals have been working very hard to try to keep up the basic services. Yesterday and today, they were working on Channing Coke Road, replacing one of the projects that they've been doing is to replace a culvert, a washed out culvert that was there. In order to reopen that road and make sure that it's usable. We are continuing to operate our garbage pickup for dumped couches and things like that. We're starting to run the mowing crews, and we are able to do some ditch maintenance and other maintenance to the roads and to our drainage structures. Some other things that are going on, as you know, the elections office is extremely busy with all of the applications now for absentee ballots that are coming in. Those were all, as you know, mailed out by the state, by the Secretary of State's office, and so they are processing the, pardon me, busy processing those on a regular basis. Our aerial photographs for 2020, our new aerial photos have come in. They should be available on Q Public, hopefully by the end of this month. And also along with that, we're creating new topographic contour maps, and those should also be available in Q Public probably around the 1st of May, maybe a little earlier by the end of April. In addition, our GIS staff is working, pardon me, with Laura Bertram on the 2020 census. The public should have all received their census cards by now, and we encourage everyone to respond. Particularly important this year with all of the things that have been happening, that we get a really good, accurate count of everyone in the county, so that we're eligible for as much federal assistance as possible in the coming years. We have been partnering with the Department of Homeland Security to do no-cost external vulnerability scans on our system, on our IT system. And this is being done on a weekly basis. This is something that in the past, we've had to pay several $1,000s a year to have done by a third-party firm. But we're working in conjunction now with the Department of Homeland Security, who is offering this service to us. We're also continuing training on cybersecurity, particularly now as we have a number of people who are working remotely. The danger to our system has been increased because of the vulnerability that's inherent when you use VPN systems and that you're not on site. However, we are continuing our training, and our failure rate, if you will, continues to drop down, and so we are in single digits now. Quite an improvement over when we first started this several months ago, where we had over 50% fail rate. So believe that this training is working, and all of our employees are much more attuned to the possibilities of cyber attacks on our system. Let's see, and we also had a couple of other things. GDOT has agreed to sign and stripe 16 county roads. This is something that we would have had to have done, but this is being included as part of our local roads safety plan for FY22. The bridge at Pitts Chapel Road is about 90% complete. Once that bridge is complete, we are looking at regrading and possibly widening the portion of Pitts Chapel Road, the dirt road portion of Pitts Chapel that's on the Newton County side. This was one of the projects that was sponsored by GDOT as a low impact bridge program. Also, we're working to acquire right-of-way. As you will recall, the board approved moving ahead with the intersection project at Jack Neely and Kirkland Road. And so we are beginning and have been working with the developer of the project there at that intersection to acquire right-of-way from them, and they seem to be agreeable to what we are asking for. Senior Services is continuing to deliver home meals since the center closed for for regular daily activity, they've delivered 838 home delivery meals, and 410 meals were picked up by clients who came to the center to pick those up. We'll continue delivering those meals on a weekly basis. And in the meantime, the employees and the drivers and anyone, all of the folks who work over at the Senior Services Center have been keeping up with their clients and calling them periodically on the phone to check on them and make sure that they're doing okay and to see if they need any assistance in any way. And that gives us an opportunity to maintain a contact with them. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, sir. Commissioner Cowell.
this is for Lloyd. Lloyd, can you address the issue regarding the EMS ambulances and the fire departments? What went on there? And because I'm getting a lot of inquiries from citizens about that.
Sure, be glad to. The EMS service, as you know, is operated by Piedmont Newton Hospital. We have been allowing the EMS service to stage operations out of some of our fire stations, meaning that they would park their trucks there. They would also make use of our kitchen areas and our day rooms. They've also used our bathrooms, showers, and the washing machines and so forth. We have been very intent and deliberate that our personnel follow the correct CDC and DPH, Department of Public Health protocols for and protections when someone has been exposed to a known COVID-19 patient, or when they have been exposed to someone who has been exhibiting all of the symptoms of the COVID-19 virus. There were several occasions where EMS personnel were not following those protocols, were not wearing the protective personal equipment, and were coming into our facilities without the proper protective gear and possibly exposing our employees to the virus. We had several conversations with the hospital, as well as the chief had several conversations with the EMS director to try to correct the situation, and it had not been corrected. There was another occurrence that happened over the weekend, and so I decided, in order to protect our employees, that they would no longer be able to utilize our facilities to stage their operations. We did meet with the hospital again today, and the hospital is trying to work out we are providing them with all of our requirements for personal protective gear and for the standard protocols. And we will see if the hospital and their EMS personnel will be able to meet those requirements before they are allowed back in our stations.
Lord, this is Chairman Banks.
Sure.
I think we had a pretty productive meeting today with Piedmont staff. I thought it went really well. I know there was some issues you were saying that was showed some differences, but I thought we had a pretty productive meeting today, and they are looking to get on the same page as we are on, and I think everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna work out well.
Yeah, I thought it was very productive as well. I think this really brought our actions brought the type of attention that the problem needed, and I do believe that we can come to some resolution on it. And we are hoping that we can get that ironed out in the next couple of days.
So, Lloyd, this is Commissioner Cowan again, just to make sure, once we get these protocols ironed out and everybody's in agreement, we will put the ambulances back at the fire stations. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and provided that they will continue to meet the protocols. Now, if they don't, then of course we would have to take action once again, but we're very concerned about the health and the welfare of our people. We still have to operate, and so want to make sure that they're safe. But as long as they do follow the procedures that we're outlining, and actually they're procedures that were given to us by the CDC and the Department of Public Health. So as long as those procedures are followed and the proper protective gear is worn, then there should be no problem whatsoever, and they would be permitted to continue utilizing our stations.
Okay. So the meeting y'all had today was very productive, and you expect some resolution at some point soon?
Yes. Our fire chief and our EMS instructor are putting together a list of the protocols that we follow. They will be submitted to the hospital for consideration, and assuming that they will agree to those and also agree to a process by which there will be some additional monitoring of their personnel, then we would be able to agree on that, and then they would be allowed to come back into the stations.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kerr.
Sure thing.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Hold on 1 second, guys. Let me say this. I got Commissioner Edwards is next. Because I want to make sure that this don't go out the wrong way. They came in the meeting and they did understand that they was in the error of some of the things that they were doing, and they were willing to correct that. So I think it was a good meeting. I think we're going in the right direction with it. Like Lloyd said, I want to make sure we keep our employees safe. But also we want to make sure that we partner with Piedmont Newton, because I think they play a valuable role here in our community as well. So they came in and they owned up to their mistakes, and they're gonna address those. So I want to make sure we don't put that out the wrong way in the paper, guys. Also, Commissioner Edwards, go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've gotten several calls like Commissioner Cowan on this particular issue the last couple of days. So, and thank you, Lord, for looking out for the safety and the well-being of our employees, and also the general spread of COVID-19, right? So thank you for doing that. I would, and it all sounds very good that we're moving in a positive direction to getting this resolved. What I would like to say is, let's make sure that when the dialogue is taking place between ourselves and the hospital administrators, let's make sure that they're never waiting on us for an explanation or an answer. Let's be as quickly as we can to respond, so that we can get these people back and get these EMTs back into our fire stations. A lot of people in District 5 live a long way from the hospital. And these ambulances being dispatched to the various fire stations can be a huge lifesaver, especially in the rural areas. So I appreciate what you're doing to make this right, and I would just encourage you to to continue on that track and the most expedient solution possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I think I heard, was it Commissioner Henderson next?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
The question that I have is to Lord concerning our first responders. Are there any cases as far as our first responders, any of them, have been or exposed to the COVID-19 virus?
There have been some suspected cases, Commissioner, and there was one exposure. Our firefighters who were exposed did go into quarantine. They've since finished their quarantine. They exhibited no signs of the illness, and so they were permitted to go back to work under certain conditions. But to my knowledge, none of our firefighters have been diagnosed as having the COVID-19. But pardon me. And we're just very concerned to make sure that that we limit their exposure, and we do everything we can to prevent any further spread. And obviously, we would like to get the ambulances back into to allow them to utilize our stations again. And that's why we once this came to a head, that we worked on this very quickly to get a meeting then with the hospital to try to reach a resolution. And but we absolutely realize their importance and their value, and so but we need to make sure that we bring them back in, and that we're all on the same page when it comes to protective measures. So,
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Kerr, for that update.
you're welcome, sir.
Next is item number 7, old business. We have none. Next is item number 8, the consent agenda. I seek a motion that we approve the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chair, this is Nancy Schultz, District 3. I move for approval of the consent agenda.
This is District 2, Commissioner Mason. I second.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. It's been motioned by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor?
Commissioner Cowan, yes.
Commissioner Mason, aye.
Commissioner Schultz, yes.
Commissioner Edwards, yes.
Commissioner Henderson, yes.
Thank you. It passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Next is item number 9, discussion and consideration of resolution R040720, a resolution of the Newton County Board of Commissioners to amend the purchasing policies and procedure. Mr. Kerr, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pardon me, you all will recall that we have had, there's been some concern about our insurance requirements for work that is done by outside vendors on county property. Primarily, the concern about the requirement for all of the vendors, contractors, to purchase workers' compensation insurance. According to state law, small contractors, single sole proprietorships, businesses, any businesses that have less than 3 employees are not required to purchase workers' compensation. And so we decided, because there were oftentimes when we have very small projects, it may only be a few $100s, that may go as much as a couple of $1,000s, but we have been finding it very difficult to get those sorts of projects done because the contractors or vendors did not want to purchase or could not purchase the workers' compensation insurance. And so what we did was propose some modifications to our policy, and essentially for any contracts less or that are over $10,000, regardless of the vendor or the contractor, they would be required to purchase workers' compensation. Anything under that, and if they met the requirements of the state statute, in other words, if they were a small company and had less than 3 employees, then they, pardon me, would not be required to purchase that insurance. In addition, there is the provision for a waiver of the a waiver and modification of the requirements for the liability insurance on a particular project, and that is either waiver or modification is something that could be determined by the county manager. And again, this is in a situation where if you have somebody replacing doorknobs and we're requiring that they have $2 million worth of automobile liability, those requirements just don't fit the, are in excess of what really needs to be for those insurance limits. These modifications, these changes would help us to be able to more easily employ small contractors and more local vendors on a lot of these small projects that we do have to rely on outside vendors for. So we're asking that you approve these changes, and you'll see them. They're in your packet on pages on pages 4 and on pages 5. You'll see they're in the emboldened underline, and then again on page 6 you'll see the additional emboldened and underlined text on page 6. So those are the changes that we're asking for the purchasing policy.
Thank you, sir. Guys, any questions tonight? Any questions tonight? I seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. Megan, you've reviewed this and you're okay with everything?
Yes, sir. When Mr. Kerr was looking at this policy, I feel that it's actually fleshed out a lot better than what we had before. So for your knowledge, we're working under that sole proprietorship language in the Workers' Compensation Act. So that's where a lot of this is coming from.
Okay.
I seek a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the purchasing policy, resolution R040720, to amend the purchasing policy and procedures.
Second this, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Commissioner Edwards is a yes.
Commissioner Mason is a yes.
Commissioner Schultz is a yes.
Commissioner Henderson, yes.
Commissioner Cowan, yes.
Thank you. It passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is item 9A, JSCM Group Security Services. Mr. Kerr, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an annual renewal for our closed port email. And this is the annual cost on this is pardon me if I can find the page here, $6,339.30 annually. And this we need to, it's up for its renewal. This is the company that you may see in your emails where you have certain emails that have been automatically removed from your active list because they either contain spam or they are have possible. It's a possibility that the email may have been corrupted in some way. You can read these. I think if you've seen, you go to your closed port email box, but it does hold those emails in a protected site so that they will not harm our system or become a problem within our own email. And so this is simply to continue that service.
Thank you, sir. Guys, any questions? Seek a motion, please.
I actually have a question, Mr. Chair,
Go
if
ahead,
I may
Commissioner.
ask.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask Lloyd, was this a company that we are already using and we're just basically renewing their contractual agreement for 1 year?
Yes, we have actually been using this same company for, I believe, 4 years now. 3 or 4 years now, and this is a renewal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Seek a motion, please.
I have a question before we go that far.
Commissioner
This is
Schultz.
Commissioner Schultz. Lloyd, what does the purchasing policy say about how frequently this particular service needs to be rebid?
I believe what it says is that we can renew we can have the initial contract and renew 4 times before we would need to, before we would have to.
So a total of
5.
5. I've got the purchasing policy back here, but I think that I couldn't remember. Some of them were 3 and some of them were 5, and I just wasn't sure if this one was a 3 or a 5.
I believe this is a 5, but I can verify that for you. I don't have the policy in front of me, but I can get you that information. But I believe that this is a 5.
Well, can you get that information for us?
Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry, Commissioners, I can't put my hands on that document right this second. But if you want to table this until the next meeting, then I'll have that information for you.
Chairman Baines, this is Megan.
Go ahead, Megan.
It is a 5. Lloyd was correct that it is 5.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Guys, if there's nothing else, I seek a motion, please.
based on the fact that it is a 5, I move for approval of JSCM Group Security Services in the amount of $6,339.30. Is that the correct amount?
Yes, ma'am. Can I get a second, please?
Commissioner Cowan, second.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Commissioner Edwards is a yes.
Commissioner Mason is a yes.
Commissioner Schultz is a yes.
Commissioner Henderson, yes.
Commissioner Cowan, yes.
Thank you. Passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is item number 10. Discussion of Governor Kemp executive order. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked that we put this on here in the event that the board may need to discuss this or had any concerns. There also was a late evening update from the governor again today. I have not had an opportunity to take a very close look at it. I don't know whether anyone else had, but I understand there was maybe some further definition to what the essential businesses are, or the treatment of things that have to be made available for employees of an essential business, if there were any questions on that. Some of the other changes that have come along over the last several days have included the authority given to the county sheriffs to enforce the order, and also that they had the authority for closure of businesses if there were businesses that were in violation of the order. Essentially, our services that we provide as a government are considered essential, and that's why we are continuing to work and continuing to provide those services. We are encouraging and having as many of our people work at home as possible, and those people who are not actively working at home are on call, and they are being rotated with other employees who are also on call, and we'll continue to do that until that the shelter-in-place order, has been lifted. And of course, right now the order will run out on the 13th. I think Ms. Martin also sent a note to all of you, encouraging you all to take an action tonight, and I'll allow her to explain that a little more for you. But if you did have any questions about the order, I'll be glad to try and answer those as best I can. But I also, as I said, wanted to put this on there in the event that you all needed or wanted to discuss it in any way.
Thank you, sir. Guys, any questions before we hear from Ms. Martin?
Mr. Chair, this is Nancy Schultz.
Okay.
I'm looking at a communication that was sent out late this afternoon regarding the governor's explanation, and one of the additions was the instruction for people to wear face masks or cloths over to protect themselves.
Mr. Kerr, you want to address that?
I have not had an opportunity to look through that latest update. Let me try to pull it back up on my mail real quick here.
You want me to just send you what I've got?
That's fine, yes, if you've got something, or if you have
Yeah, I've got,
yeah, that'd be fine if you'd like to do that.
Chairman Baines, if I may,
Ms. Martin, go ahead, please.
just to advise the board, if we're discussing emails during a meeting or such, we want to be cognizant of the Open Meetings Act, and let's go ahead and attach those to the minutes.
okay. Do you want me to send that to you as well?
No, I have it already. Thank you,
Okay.
though.
I mean, what's the question? Are you, Commissioner Schultz, are you asking?
No, I'm not asking a question. I'm just saying that one of the additions was the recommended use of cloth face coverings. That was addressed in the, apparently today. So that's something that was not in the original order, but something that is recommended.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Not required, it's recommended.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else before we hear from Ms. Martin? Ms. Martin, if you want to go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chairman Baines. Much like everyone on the board, we're getting this information very quickly. Thankfully, we do have some of our partners that have been able to assist early on. As Commissioner Schultz had indicated, we did get some correspondence that was both from ACCG and GMA, an opinion this evening. I also have not been able to digest it completely, but I did want to go over my notes that I had made with the board. Requirements on local governments. Let's start with social distancing in or local government locations. Local governments are going to be required 6 feet between each person in on a local government property. This is going to apply to officials, employees, and citizens. It does not apply to individuals who live together when they're outside of their homes. If the minimum distance of 6 feet cannot be maintained, then the local government location may only have a maximum of 10 people present at a time. Next, on requirements of a local government, providing services related to construction and applications. The requirements of executive order was made on March the 20th of 2020, is reducing regulations to assist the state's response to the spread of COVID-19. This is going to apply to your local government, your superior courts, your clerks, your tax commissioners, and other officials. And they're being urged to ensure that the recording offices remain open and available to receive applications and filings to the extent possible. I have worked with Ms. Judy Johnson this week, so I do understand that that is going as required. Let's talk about what Mr. Kerr was indicating earlier. We did get further definition on the treatment of employees deemed essential critical infrastructure. As Mr. Kerr has indicated, we are working hand in hand with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security regarding critical infrastructure workforce. As you all know, we have 3 executive orders, so I will go through the thought process for each of them. Under the executive orders, persons traveling in conjunction with providing such critical infrastructure are exempt from the shelter-in-place requirement of the April 2nd executive order. Local government departments or employees do fall into this category. There are many itemized on there. In fact, I'm looking down, we have 37 different exemptions from that policy. I will certainly make that available to the board as you would wish. Chairman Baines, have I covered what you were looking for as far as a quick summary on the local government provisions, or would you like me to do a deeper dive?
Oh, no, you're fine. That's exactly what we needed.
Okay. Well, let's just touch one more thing, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Local governments are going to have to implement measures which mitigate the exposure and spread of COVID. So that is going to be something that's happening in the workforce. I'm happy to say that Mr. Kerr jumped on this over a week ago to make sure that essential folks would be in place, and we would try to make sure we could get as many people to work online as possible. However, let's talk about employees that are reporting to work. We must screen and evaluate workers who are exhibiting signs of illness, such as a cough, shortness of breath, and certainly a fever over 100.4 degrees. Additionally, we're going to require workers exhibiting signs of illness to not report to work and to seek medical attention. We are enhancing the sanitation of the workplace. We do require hand washing or sanitation by employees, and that's at the appropriate locations at the work location. As Commissioner Schultz was speaking of earlier, we do have an obligation to provide personal protective equipment as available and as appropriate to the function and location of the employee. As you all have seen from reading the news and such, the PPE is in high demand right now, so it's important that we identify those workers who do have exposures or the chance that they would be exposed. They would have first concern for those PPEs. We need to prohibit employees from gathering in groups during work hours. So, for example, it would not be good to host a potluck in your department at this time. We're wanting you to stay as far away as you can. Of course, we do know that it's 6 feet that we're seeking. However, if someone can, I would recommend that we actually increase that 6 feet going forward. As I said earlier, we have put teleworking in place, and folks are running staggered shifts. We're trying, just as we are tonight, to have all meetings and conferences virtually when possible. Of course, we are going to be required to hold all meetings and conferences virtually, as I indicated, delivering intangible services remotely when possible, discouraging employees from using another employee's phone, desk, office, work tools, or equipment. I have been made aware that the departments do have wipes that are sanitizing wipes to use on the telephones, on the different entry pads and such, and I believe that's already going on. We do, as I indicated, provide disinfectant and sanitation products, and employees, if they feel uncomfortable about their workplace, this will be made available to them as well, that they can sanitize their work area. Of course, as I indicated, we're talking documents, but more also those equipment items that you don't think about, germs when you're reaching for the phone or shooting an email. So we're working hard to ensure that everyone understands how that rule is going to work. And the 16th thing of our requirements that we learned about this afternoon is suspending the use of pen pads, pen entry devices, electronic signature capture, any other credit card, receipt, signature requirements to the extent is permitted by agreements with those credit card companies. So those are our mandates from our governor. We do have, as I indicated, many more items up under the definition there of the folks that are critical infrastructure. This was excellent to receive this from the governor's office because it did alleviate some of the questions and concerns that we were having over the definition of a critical infrastructure employee. And that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer questions the best that I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. Hey guys, any questions for Megan tonight?
This actually is not a question for Megan, but the kiosk at the Kroger on Georgia 20, I presume that kiosk is sanitized by the tax commissioner, but since that is you can pay your tax bills on that, I would assume that item number 16 applies to that kiosk. So I think that we need to make sure that if we're recommending people use that kiosk, there is a sanitizing procedure in place.
Commissioner Schultz, this is Megan. Chairman Baines, may I speak?
You sure can. Go ahead, please.
I would recommend on those kiosk type things just to make them unavailable for a period of time so they will be able to go and interact with our staff, but it would also be very helpful to close those down because you're correct, that's got to be a breeding ground for this virus for people touching the items at that kiosk.
So do we address that with the tax commissioner?
Yes, that's what I just made myself a note to call Dana tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Megan.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cowell.
Megan, in your email this afternoon, you talked about Governor Kemp's executive order expiring on the 13th and wanting us to consider extending our date on ours. Can you elaborate on that a minute?
Absolutely. Tonight's discussion of the emergency shelter in place is obviously going to give us a little bit more definition as we move forward. But there is one concrete step that I suggest the BOC take tonight, which is to extend the county's shelter in place order. I know that the county's order is currently superseded by the governor's order. However, the governor's order is scheduled to expire at 11:59 p.m. on April 13th. I do believe that will likely be extended. But if not, I think our order should take immediate effect once the governor's expires at 11:59. If we were to articulate a motion on this one, I would recommend the following: a motion to approve the county's existing shelter in place emergency order to take effect as soon as the governor's shelter in place executive order is no longer effective if a state or emergency remains in effect. And of course, it will terminate 7 days after it becomes effective, and we can come back and check in what we're dealing with. It's my understanding from speaking to some medical professionals today that we are getting close to the peak on this. So it's going to be a week by week determination that you all make as far as extending that order.
Okay, so should we just put a date in there to extend it, or what you wrote, is that sufficient?
I think what I've given us some gray area there, so I'm indicating it's only going to take effect as soon as the governor's is no longer effective. As you all know, the governor's executive orders are going to have more weight than our own. I do expect that we'll actually get further communications before that 11:59 p.m. on April 13th, but we certainly don't want to be on April 14th at 12 a.m. and not have something in place.
Right, but do we want to put something in place that says this continues until order to stop by the BOC?
What I would recommend doing is take effect as soon as the governor's shelter in place executive order is no longer effective. And again, I feel very confident that we're going to see the governor's order to expire. It likely is going to be later than that 11:59 on April 13th.
Mr. Chairman.
Right. Okay.
I'm sorry, who is that?
It's Commissioner Edwards.
Commissioner Edwards, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Megan. Hey, so if the governor's were to expire on the 13th, what leads us to believe there will still be a need for shelter in place even at the local level? I know we put a shelter in place before the governor, and I think we should keep that option open. But to put an order in place that automatically kicks in when the governor's expires may unnecessarily place an extended burden on some of our already overly burdened businesses and people going to jobs for that matter. But I understand what you're saying, but if the governor lets his order expire, then there's a reason he let it expire, and maybe we are to a place where statewide in Newton County we can lift this restriction on the public. I think we've got basically a shelter in place order already, and I think we can convene in a matter of 24 hours, right? And if the 12th, if the governor's is going to expire and we think we're far from being out of prison, we can certainly institute that shelter in place order again. But I think right now, that's a week from now, right? So there's a lot of factors can change between now and a week from now. So and like you said, the governor's probably going to extend his anyway. But if he doesn't, I just don't know. Is this something that ACCG recommends, or?
Yes, actually, Sam and I wrote this up a day or so ago, but Larry Ramsey from ACCG sent out a summary of the executive orders today. In my opinion, is consistent with that.
Okay, so we're not confident that the governor is going to necessarily do what's right. I mean, I don't want to say not's right. We're prepared to leave the governor. Is that what we're saying?
I'm sorry, Chairman Baines, may I speak? Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Martin.
It just depends on what the county's goal is here. I completely agree with you that we can convene a meeting within 24 hours. We've been doing an excellent job of that using this technology. So it's merely what the board has heard from their constituents or what your opinions are about your district and how this is going to impact those individuals. So I think Commissioner Edwards makes a good point. This can be taken up at a later date and probably within 6 days time so that we're still have that governor protection there. If that's something we want to do, 24 hours notice pursuant to the Open Meetings Act.
Well, you know, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Edwards.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, you know, we commissioners as a governing body, we've struggled, and I felt quite a relief when the governor issued his shelter in place. We struggled to balance the state and as well as the economic well-being of our small businesses, knowing that public health comes first. But I think keeping those two issues in mind, I would rather we wait and convene maybe on the 12th if we feel it's necessary. If the chairman has got 3 commissioners wants to convene a meeting, but I just I would hesitate to put something in place that says the governor's expires tomorrow, ours is going to kick in. Maybe jeopardize more businesses is all I'm trying to say. I don't know how well I articulated that, but I would feel better if we just made that decision on the 12th, maybe. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Schultz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I spoke with one of our legislators this morning, and what I was told is that they had given the governor a window that would expire on Monday the 13th, and that the legislature would come back in session on Monday the 13th to determine if they were going to give the governor additional time, additional leeway to extend the order. So I think the assumption is that the governor will extend the order, but that the legislature gave the time framework for that April 13th at midnight. And so that they're the ones that really hold the cards right now. I would prefer to wait as well until we hear from the governor, because I think that based on that conversation that I had this morning, that it's a matter of the formality and to determine whether they're going to reassess what the need is at that time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Mason.
Go ahead, sir.
So I just wanted to get some clarity, because I know our current ordinance states that we have the shelter in place until April the 7th, I believe. So are we saying that what we want to do is extend it until April the 13th at 11:59 p.m.? Or are we saying that we just want to leave it open-ended and not put a specific date because the governor is more than likely going to extend it? Therefore, we wouldn't have to come back and extend it again and add another date because it'll already be open-ended. And hopefully my question was clear. If not, please let me know. And I guess that's a question for Megan, if that's what you're proposing.
Mhm.
Hi, Commissioner Mason, it's Megan. If I'm understanding your question, you are looking at our previous resolution that will expire April 7th. However, the governor has now put forward these orders, and they absolutely supersede anything we're doing at the local level right now. So even though we indicated the 7th on our response, that is going to be preempted by the governor. And what we're looking at now is how we're going to handle the next deadline that's been put in place that's set to expire at 11:59 on April 13th. That was required by the governor. So we are following that to say, again, if it gets extended, but right now it is 11:59 p.m. on April 13th.
Okay, great. So because Governor Kemp's order supersedes ours, does that mean we still don't have to go back and amend ours? The current one that we have on a local level, we just keep it the way that it is because his supersedes ours. We don't have to make any changes at all.
That's correct, Commissioner Mason. Even if we had the perfect solution to this absolute nightmare, if it was not within the time frame of the governor's order, we could not act.
Okay, great. So we're just kind of waiting to decide when we need to have a follow-up discussion for the April 13th deadline?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I think that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
We got two. I heard Commissioner Schultz. Commissioner Schultz.
so could we just go ahead and set up a
We will. We will.
tentative date then?
We will tonight, the 12th. We'll make
The
that.
12th is on a Sunday, so
Is that-
it would have, the 12th on a Sunday, so it'd have to be the 13th.
That is correct. The 12th is Easter.
I'm sorry, yeah, the 13th. That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Megan, so if I read the governor's order correctly last week, I believe it was right at the end, the verbiage was the counties cannot make this more restrictive or less restrictive when his order's in effect. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay, so that basically renders all other orders within the state of local governments moot at that point.
Yes.
Okay, that answers my question. So, and just so people on the call will know, if I read that correctly, the governor followed the guidelines in terms of essential business and all other points of discussion. He followed the Department of Homeland Security's recommendations in terms of those bullet points, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So the essential businesses were not set by the counties themselves or even the state. Those were set or recommended by the Department of Homeland Security at the federal level, correct?
I'm not sure that they were given the date as far as what was being recommended by the Department of Homeland Security. Unfortunately, I didn't think to ask that question. I can get you an answer to that after the meeting ends, if possible.
No, I didn't mean the date. I just meant the guidelines and the bullet points themselves.
Yes, sir. We could have lots of specific bullet points. However, the governor's been really clear that he is superseding whatever bullet points we might have on a restrictive ordinance or resolution. So it's what we're working under right now is the governor's order, and that's scheduled to expire at 11:59 on April 13th. The topic of discussion here is to determine if you want to put a stopgap in on the 12th so that you have something in place to shelter in place order. That's really the main issue and the only issue on the timing.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Mr. Chairman, with that, can I suggest that you poll the board on sometime during the day on the 13th to see if that doesn't meet the 24-hour guidelines, though, does it?
We'll need to notice it that Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Commissioner Edwards, we already have 3 commissioners that is
Okay.
asking for that. So we will make sure that we have that meeting prior to the governor's deadline. So we'll make sure we do that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Mason.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time to add to this discussion, and you can tell me if it is not or if it is. Are we going to discuss the actual some of the details in the executive order from the governor? Because one that, of course, has been brought to my attention was in regards to the parks. I know when I looked at the actual order, it basically stated that outside activities are still okay as long as citizens maintain 6 feet in distance if they're not within the same household. But I believe, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
I don't know.
Mr. Mason, that's exactly right. I was telling you
Oh.
that is correct.
Okay, and so from what I've seen, and I don't know about any of the other parks, but I have seen at Denny Dobbs, they've actually been gated off. So no one is able to actually utilize the sidewalks for walking or exercise or parking in the facility at all. So I didn't know if that's something that we should take a look at and say, well, do we want to keep that in effect, or do we not keep that in effect? Because would that be going against the actual executive order itself?
Commissioner Mason, let me take a look at that right quick. I'm going to pull up those definitions.
Okay. Because the one I'm looking at is, I don't know exactly which section. It's after the whereases, and it's ordered. And it just talks about engaging in outdoor exercise activities so long as a minimum distance of 6 feet is maintained during such activities between all persons who are not occupants of the same household or residence.
That's absolutely correct as well.
So I just wanted to know, and I think I may have saw Sheriff Brown on the line, if that's something that we should continue, because it was brought to my attention that it was ordered by our Office of the Sheriffs to gate off the parks where people can't park there. So I don't know if that's something that we should continue to do, or will we be liable by going against that executive order?
I would think that it would make our ordinance/resolution moot at that point, and that addressed the 6 feet distance. On the parks, one of the reasons that I've seen on some emails is that you can't control how many folks are out there, the 10 people rule and the 6 foot rule. That's very difficult to enforce, especially with our sheriff's office having all that is on them beyond that. So I am seeing it's not just Newton County, multiple counties around Georgia that are doing just that. If it's a place or a service that's to be received, if we can't effectively enforce 6 feet and 10 people, it's probably best to close it and recommend another park or walking trail that is open for their use.
Okay, great. So we will be okay with, because I just want to make sure that, because I'm fine with that, I just want to make sure that we're not violating anything as from an executive order perspective by doing so.
I'm sorry. Yeah, as long as we're maintaining 6 feet and 10 people, and that's our goal, and we're engaging that in good faith, I feel confident that the county's actions would be acceptable.
Okay, but if we're not able to gauge that, and if we're not able to actually make sure, then basically by us gating the parks off and not allowing anyone to have access to those sidewalks or gates at all,
Oh, yeah?
that will be fine for us to do that.
Which one?
I guess, I guess we need to see if the sheriff is on the call. And we have some, if you're not speaking though, we're gonna ask you if you could, mute your phone, please. We're gonna try. Sheriff, are you on the phone? Are you on the call tonight?
Yes.
Sheriff, can you hear me, Sheriff?
I can hear you now.
Hey, can you give us kind of an update on the reason for closing down Denny Darts Park, please?
From a law enforcement's perspective, I assume that it's the recreation is the reason why it was closed down.
So you didn't order it closed?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay. Well, Commissioner Mason, I'll definitely find out tomorrow why it's closed, and I'm not sure if Mr. Turner's on the phone tonight. Tenarda, are you on the phone tonight? Mr. Turner, are you on the phone tonight? So we'll definitely find out tomorrow why it's closed, and we'll make a determination from there. But I'll definitely give you a call tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess because I noticed too that I think maybe someone may be knocking them down. So I want to make sure that if we are maintaining that and if that actually has been ordered, that we kind of keep watch on them. But of course, if that's not something that we can keep in place, or if like Sheriff Brown didn't order those to be put up, you know, if they need to be removed to allow people to utilize the walking area. And I know they're not utilizing the pavilion. They're not utilizing the basketball court because the basketball goals have been taken down, and they're not utilizing the actual playground equipment. But I know Denny Downs Park is very, very well utilized. And so a lot of people go there every single day and they walk around the walking track and they utilize it to exercise. And so I just kind of wanted to know, just kind of make sure that we were doing what we were supposed to do and we were doing things right, and that we weren't doing anything that would go against the actual executive order.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll make sure we get that. We'll check that out tomorrow, and we'll get with you by phone call. Mr. Kerr, if you could help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate it. And we'll let you know.
Sure, yes, sir. I'll be glad to give him a call in the morning.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? So Megan, we're gonna hold off from taking a vote tonight, and we'll schedule a meeting for the 13th. We'll give 24-hour notice for a special call meeting, depending on if the governor does not extend his order. Are you there, Megan?
Sorry, y'all, I kind of got laggy when you were speaking, Chairman Baines.
That's okay. So we're going to hold off on our vote tonight. We're going to have a special call meeting on the 13th if the governor does not extend his order.
That sounds great. I'll make sure it's on my calendar, and I'll keep you all updated day to day on what we're hearing out of the governor's office.
Thank you so much. Next is item number 11, alcohol license, final reading, Chevron Food Mart, 66 Almond Road, Covington, Georgia, 314. Shanawaz, Hossain, District 3. Commissioner Schultz.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the alcohol license for Chevron Food Mart, 66 Almond Road, Covington, Georgia, Shawneewas, Hussein, District 3.
Second, this Commissioner Mason.
Thank you so much. It's been a motion by Commissioner Schultz and second by Commissioner Mason. All in favor?
Yes, from Commissioner District 1.
Yes, from Commissioner Mason, District 2.
Yes, from Commissioner Schultz, District 3.
Yes, Commissioner Henderson, District 4.
Yes, Commissioner Cowan, District 5.
Thank you so much. Passes 5-0. Our next citizen comments. This is an opportunity that we let citizens make comments. You're allowed 3 minutes to do so. I will be keeping the time here. You may do so at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone want to make comments tonight? Thank you so much. Next is commissioners' comments. I'm going to start with Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lloyd, please pass along my compliments to the staff. It seems like they're able to work through our current scenario and deliver services to our citizens as best they can, it seems, but I have gotten no complaints, so my compliments to your staff. Let's see, I exercised yesterday in Covington. I walked, of course, observing the social distance rules, but around the square was, as you know, a ghost town, and I can't imagine how our local businesses are just struggling, and what that means financially to those folks. So I would encourage everyone within the governor's allowable guidelines to patronize our local businesses to the extent possible. I'm trying to do that myself. I'm trying to spread what little wealth there is in the first district and even in Covington when I can. So I would encourage you to go out and patronize our locally owned businesses. Lastly, I would say, I want to say thank you to the board for, number one, providing the money for the Newton County school system and, of course, Action Ministries last week. There are many more worthy community partners that are helping to feed our kids. Washington Street Community Center, Nelson Heights Community Center, but another one I want to focus, put a little focus, shine a little light on tonight is the YMCA. When I walked yesterday, I saw their van and they're feeding kids. They're working with the school system to understand where the biggest needs are. So I would encourage you to, if you have the financial resources available, to reach out to the Y. They will run out of money at some point. This is the normal spring break, I believe, for our school system. And they would try to feed kids anyway, but we're coming up on summer as well. So the money coffers are depleted. I work for an insurance agency, Jones, June, Dobbs in Tampa, and they decided today they're going to make a generous donation to the Y. So I would encourage you to pick one of these family or one of these community ministries or community partners and help with the billing if at all possible. So I know I'm beating a dead horse, but our kids, a lot of them just do not eat when there's not school. I can't emphasize that enough. So just want to pass that along, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mason. Commissioner Mason. We're going to come back to Commissioner Mason. Commissioner Schultz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to thank everyone who expressed their condolences and said prayers for my family. It's always difficult to lose a parent. It was an unusual way to lose a parent when you're dealing with this particular virus simultaneously. My mother-in-law did not have the virus. She had COPD. But when you lose a parent and in the midst of this and you can't visit them and say your proper goodbyes, it made me understand a lot more about what a lot of the people in our community are experiencing. So thank you for those thoughts and prayers and those condolences. I would like to also say that a real gift to our community right now is that Facebook has appropriated $100,000 for small businesses in our community. I applied today for that for my business, and I would encourage us to communicate that to all the small businesses in our district, in our districts, that this money is available. There's also going to be some additional money coming from grants from other sources. And so I'd say let's stay tuned, get the word out. I happened to notice this through the Covington News this morning. So it would be helpful to get the word out through a link. That's very generous of Facebook. Apparently they're awarding $100 million to their locations throughout the United States. And since we are one of those locations, we're a beneficiary of about $100,000 as a community.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Henderson. I know Commissioner Henderson had Commissioner Henderson, you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
I know yesterday you had a couple of questions. Lord, this would be a great time actor, if you would.
You want me? Okay. Well, first of all, I thank the county staff for just really going out and just helping out the citizens of Newton County. And another thing, what Commissioner Schultz have just indicated about the $100,000 of possible grants or donations to small businesses. And I think that we need to, as a government, we need to try and help our local business, small businesses, as much as we can by making that information available and just putting forth an extra effort to try to make sure, because if we don't, over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, we're going to lose a lot of those businesses. And I think a lot of those eateries that we have all over the years have enjoyed may not be around town in order to go in their establishment and to continue over the years to enjoy it. So I think, if we can just kind of put that word out, maybe kind of, I don't know what Lord can do or what we can do as a board, but just try to make sure that we get that information about the grants and the federal grants and the local grants and the Facebook grants and whatever to help our local businesses, because they're really hurting at this time. And let's do more than just talk about it. Let's do something. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mason, don't look like he can get back on, but he said he don't have any comments tonight, but he did tell me earlier he was thankful that the board did vote to give a donation to Action Ministries as well as the school system to provide meals for the kids. So he did tell me that, so I want to say that on his behalf. Commissioner Cowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do agree with the other commissioners. Appreciate what the county employees are doing as far as the level of service. They're getting things done and providing that necessary services out there. I do want to just remind everybody that stay home and let's get through this thing and everything will be better in about a month or so. So just hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Guys, I want to say just a couple of things tonight before we get off this call. First, I want to echo what the commissioners were saying. We do have great employees. They are doing a great job. And so I just want to echo that as well. This thing with Piedmont and our fire station, our fire department, I want to make sure that that the wrong information don't get put out there. We did have a great meeting today. Piedmont did come in and they owned up to some of the things that had happened. They apologized for them, and I believe we're going to be able to move forward. I think we're going to do it in a quick manner. So I want to make sure I get that information out. Thank Mr. Kerr for putting that meeting together, and guys, we look to keep partnering with Piedmont Newton. Also, before I go, I just want to continue I want to echo, and I can't emphasize it enough, guys. Let's keep doing what we're doing. Let's keep washing our hands. Let's keep if you again, I can't emphasize it enough. If you don't have to go, don't go. If you can stay at home, please stay at home. We ain't out of the woodworks yet. You know, we have 2 deaths in Newton County, and we are praying for those families. And over 60 cases here, and we are praying for those ones that's affected by this as well. Please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget about Thursday. We're going to be praying for this community throughout the day, wherever you are, starting at 6 a.m. If you know the word of prayer, please do pray for this community and our nation. I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys again for your time tonight, for caring enough about your community to still have these meetings. And so I thank you guys. I also seek a motion now that we adjourn.
District 1, motion to adjourn.
District 3, second.
Thank you so much. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Schultz. All in favor?
District 1, yes.
District 3, yes.
District 4, yes.
District 5, yes.
Thank you so much. Passes 4-0. Guys, y'all have a great week. Go love on your families. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.